This is Silo. Oh, hi, baby. Oh, yeah, thank you. She is about 9 months now. Yeah, she's a sweet little baby. All right, be free. Got the Trader Joe's sparkling black cherry vanilla this time. One of my favorites. Oh, we were talking some crap today. Boy, do I get a story for you. Should we do this? Y'all, I'm 41. That's crazy. I never imagined I'd be a 41-year-old starting a YouTube page, but it makes sense. I've been around the block a few times, and maybe some of my experiences can help you with your own journey. So gather around, children. Ooh, watch out for the mic, too. Gather around. It's story time. Ever since I could remember, I've been into movies. One of my first core memories is my dad showing my brothers and I Star Wars for the first time. It was magical. Seeing these unimaginable things happening on the screen, I was hooked. I still remember seeing Jurassic Park for the first time on the big screen. My mind was blown. And that movie still holds up, by the way. Growing up, my friends Derek and Dusty Yoder lived around the corner from me. They had a camcorder and the same love for SNL and Monty Python that I had. We started making shorts, recreating SNL skits, even beer commercials. I was enthralled by the process of making a video and working with actors. I had the vision. This was me. Those were some of the best times of my life. After a while, we just kind of sort of stopped doing it. When I was a freshman at Willow Glen High School in San Jose, California, go Rams, I was mistakenly assigned to the photography class. The teacher, Mr. Cassetti, said, "No freshmen in my class." So I had to change. I was so bummed. I'd never heard of a class like that. They certainly didn't have anything like that in middle school. It was such a gut punch to be denied such a cool class. It put me off so much, I didn't try to join the class the following year. Skip forward to my junior year, and I finally decided to try the class again. Mr. Cassetti was so much more gracious this time around, despite all the crap that I gave him. But he truly became my first mentor. He saw my aptitude for photography and challenged me. He taught me things he wasn't teaching the other kids in class. Without his guidance, I don't know where I'd be today, so thanks, Stan. At the time, my mom, Wendy, had just married my stepdad, Mark. Mark was moving into our house, and he just so happened to be getting into photography at the same time. This was a blessing because he had the money to buy cameras. I was financially free to explore and play around. It was a very fortunate position to be in. You know, some of you are probably too young to remember when photography was only shot on film. Well, it's making a comeback a bit, so maybe you do know about that. I started off shooting 35mm film. That's the most basic film size back in the day. I had an old Minolta Maxim 7000. I don't even remember what kind of lens I had. I mean, this was 25 years ago, so give me a break. Mark started getting into larger format cameras. He loves shooting landscapes. He picked up a few medium and large format cameras, including a few Yashica mats, a Minolta twin lens reflex 120 camera, a 4x5 field view camera, and eventually a few Mamiya 7s. I always loved the look of a larger format. It gives you perspective that you're just not used to. I mean, imagine if the back of your eyeball was like this big. It's really tough to imagine, but that's what it's like to shoot on large format film. I ended up sticking to the medium format size of film. It was a happy medium between 35mm ease of use and the large format's perspective. And that's why I had the Fujifilm GFX 50 Mark II. I love that camera. I shot on film pretty much exclusively from the year 2000 to 2007. So many pictures, so much time spent developing and printing. Sometimes I miss it. Having to wait to see your image is exhilarating and a daunting thing. Maybe I'll shoot some more film in the future, but I'm not developing it anymore. Screw that. When I was a kid, my mom told me that she couldn't see me having a regular desk job. And she was right. Let's rewind the clock. It's 2002, and it's time for college. and I want to be a director. I had a dream in my eye and a hope in my heart when I decided to move to Los Angeles and study filmmaking at California State University Northridge, or CSUN for short. Boy, were my hopes dashed quick. They neglected to tell me that I was enrolled in a pre-film major, and I had to take 2.5 years of classes first and then apply to the actual film major. It was crazy. Oh, and if you were rejected twice, your application was no longer accepted. So you're screwed. During my first year, I saw so many filmmakers that were more talented than I getting rejected that 2 times. It was so discouraging. I decided to make a change. So I switched my major to photography, finished up my degree, and got the heck out of there. Right out of college, I got my first full-time salaried position. I was working for a kids' sport and photography company, like to make the baseball cards and stuff to sell to kids. I was making $35,000 a year and I was stoked. I thought I had made it. I was on top of the world, and then the world came crashing down. This was the year 2008, and the economy was tanking. I was the last one in, and I was the first one out. After a few months of trying to find work in a dying economy, I had to pack everything up and move back to my mom's house in San Jose. It was one of the lowest points of my life. I was defeated and coming home with my tail between my legs. But I had a good support group. My parents came through for me so many times, and I'm very fortunate to have them. Now that I was back home, it was time to find some work. After some searching, I found an open position at one of the local Picture People studios. I got the job and quickly rose up the ranks. I was a good photographer and a really good salesman. People found me personable. I don't know, do you? I started getting a lot of repeat customers, and the heads started to turn. A new deal with Petco had just been made, and they needed really ambitious people to work the contract. It was presented as a quick way to rise up in the ranks. We were sent out in teams of 2 to a different Petco location every week to take pictures of animals and sell photos. And that's where I met my friend and future bandmate, Logan. We were a great team. During the trial period, we ranked 3rd in the nation for sales. Because we ranked 3rd, they sent us to Hawaii separately. Logan went back to the studio, and I carried on with Petco. Again, I rose through the ranks and saw a lot less return. This was another really low period in my life. I was barely scratching by. I was getting worked to the bone. I was miserable. I stayed there way longer than I should have. But to be honest, the reason I stayed was for a girl that I really liked. Turned out to not be mutual, so I left. I had some wild experiences working for Picture People at Petco. I took pictures of a lemur. I saw people break up in front of me. I even sold photos to a blind person. That's a story for another time. My former boss, Sarah, told me I should write a book about my experiences, but I never did. Oh well. So I had just left Picture People in 2012 and needed some work. I started looking around and found a position at Camp Gallileo, teaching photography and filmmaking. Growing up, I went to summer camp every year, and they were fine. But I wish I had a camp like this when I was a kid. The closest we got was astronomy camp, and you better believe I did that. So I got hired on for 6 weeks. 3 weeks of photography courses and 3 weeks for filmmaking. It was a blast. I had so much fun teaching these kids, even though I wasn't really a great teacher. It was so rewarding seeing things click for these kids. Their enthusiasm, it was infectious. Kind of lit a spark of teaching in me. I started looking into what it takes to become a teacher. Man, the pay is crap. Y'all, we are not paying our teachers enough. So I said, no, thank you. And the summer of 2012 came to an end, and so did the good times at Camp Gallileo. And it was time to get back to the real world. So out of work again, I started the search again. Came across a post looking for school portrait photographers for a company called Len Conrad. I applied and was in. Those were some of the most grueling days of work I've had in my life. We were at the warehouse at like 5 a.m. to drive 2 hours to a school to set up and photograph 1,000 kids in 8 hours and then pack it all up and drive home. It was 15-hour days regularly. The money wasn't great, but I was doing okay. As usual, quickly rose up through the ranks into a lead position, and I started catching the eye of the studio division of the company. They were called Pro Image Studios, and they serviced the high school clients with senior portraits and event photography. I mean, this was the big leagues. We got to wear whatever we wanted to instead of a stupid polo shirt. It was a big deal, trust me. I really enjoyed the work there. It was a lot more creative than Len Conrad. We got to shoot football games and plays and rallies and so much more. Unfortunately though, it was kind of a toxic workspace. There was a lot of bullying coming from upper management and from the senior staff. It was really difficult to not have a supportive manager. Trust me, I know. It really makes or breaks a work environment. So at the end of 2014, Len Conrad / Pro Image Studios got sold off to another undisclosed company. Undisclosed because they're a terrible company ran by a terrible person who ran Pro Image into the ground. He alienated clients, put out a terrible product, and he treated the employees like crap. It was bad. By the end of 2015, he had successfully bankrupted us and shut the whole shop down. Then he laid off all the employees that he didn't like, and I was out of work again. After getting laid off again, I was lost. I felt fed up with the school photography world. It's surprisingly cutthroat. All the backstabbing and bad business practices turned me off to photography as a career entirely. Started looking for anything else. Posted to Facebook to see if anyone knew anywhere that was hiring. A friend replied saying that Tesla was hiring vehicle testing operators. Perfect. It wasn't photography, it sounded fun, and it was working for this exciting up-and-coming EV company. I applied and got in. I worked as a vehicle testing operator for about 6 months before they hired me on to the facilities team. At this time, our job was to move the testing department into a new facility and get everyone settled in. Over the next year-ish plus, I helped build out the facility, including the crash track. Tesla had recently hired an imaging specialist named Feroz Dalal. He was brought on to build up our imaging capabilities. He and I worked together a lot, so we talked. I told him about my history with photography and how I was kind of disparaged about it. He said, "Why don't you come over here and I'll show you how to do this?" And just like that, I was a photographer again. Over the next 8 years, under the tutelage of my boss, Tony DiPolantonio, I helped to build up Tesla's testing department, built up a team of 6 technicians, consulted with outside vendors, managed several infrastructure projects, and so much more. I was fulfilled. It was the best job I've ever had. I was challenged creatively and I was making a difference. I was helping save lives. Things were great for a really long time until they weren't. After my boss, Tony, left the company, things started to change. I didn't have his support anymore. And then came the layoffs and the reorgs. I started 2024 with 6 employees. And I ended 2024 with just 2. Change was in the wind, and I could feel it in my bones. So I started looking around to see if there were any other positions, seeing if anything was a good fit. And in June of 2025, after 9 years, I was laid off. Again. To be honest, it was time. I had done everything that I could do there, and the company was moving in a different direction. Not to mention all the optics around the CEO since last year. Regardless, I had a very long career and I'm still immensely proud of all the work that I did there. This was my parting gift. It's a Tesla tradition for Tesla veterans. Thank you to everyone that I worked with there. I'm a better person having worked with all of you. So now begins the new chapter in my life. But before we get to that, we gotta rewind a little bit, so... The year's 2011. my bandmates, Logan, Klaus, and Tim. We found our band, A Human Costume. In 2014, we released our first album, Exhume, Behold, Defenestrate. With our freshman album out there, we were ready to play some shows. We finally found our way into the Bay Area metal scene, playing with a lot of amazing bands. And you know what? I found my people. I started going to shows regularly. After a few, I was kind of getting bored just standing there and doing a little bit of moshing, so I decided to bring my camera one time. The band loved them so much, they asked me to take promo photos. From then on, I would go to at least one show a week and take some pictures for free. It was great marketing, and I was having fun doing it, and I started getting more and more commissions for promo photos and promo work. It was a pretty decent supplemental income for the time. After a year or so of doing this, bands started asking me if I shot music videos. I said, sure, why not? I wasn't very good at first, but I learned something new with every video that I produced. I still look back on them with fondness, not knowing much about lighting or camera movements, editing, or even running a business. So, what did I do? I started watching YouTube regularly. I tried to learn whatever I could, following YouTubers like Peter McKinnon, Potato Jet, Jared Polin. I would consume whatever I could find on what I was trying to do for my next video. YouTube is my most watched streaming service by far, and that's kind of what inspired me to start this channel. Since then, I've filmed over 50 music videos. It's wild just to think that. I have been called the king of metal music videos in the Bay Area. I don't really hate that title either, but it's not everything that I've shot. I've spent many years as a wedding photographer for a wedding company. I've shot probably 75 to 80 weddings in my life. For the past 7 years, I've been increasing my focus on business content creation. I've worked for over 15 restaurants and businesses to help improve the quality of their content. I've shot anything and everything. You name it, I've shot it. My whole life, I've been honing my craft. I've been learning to be better, to make better images for my clients and for myself. I have been privileged enough to work with some amazing and talented people. I won't pretend to know everything, but I may know some things that you don't, and vice versa. I'm gonna keep learning, and I want us to learn together. I'm gonna keep practicing and sharing what I know, and I want you to share with me what you know too. Together, we can grow and get better at this amazing craft that we are so enthralled with. I love the quote from Ansel Adams. You don't take a photograph, you make it. We put thought and intention into the art that we make. We tell stories, we document history, we capture memories, moments in time, saved forever, always accessible. And that's beautiful. Bingo bango.